My life, how I communicate with others, how I speak to others completely changed when I stopped trying to be politically correct. When you are really trying to be politically correct, it is a sign of people pleasing. You are not good with self, you are not good with your thoughts, you are not good with your experiences. Because honestly, if you are trying to be politically correct, that means you just don't want people to hear your opinions, or you're not okay with your own opinions. Once I kind of realized this, I went to therapy. Let me tell you, I don't really care about being politically correct because I love discourse. I love agreeing to disagree. I know that not everybody's going to agree with my opinion, and I don't want everybody to agree with my opinion because as human beings, we all have different experiences in life, and I love talking to other people and hearing their life experiences, having an opinion, having a back and forth, learning from each other. That's what communication should be like. And oftentimes on social media, you'll see in the comments, people who disagree with you are so mean. Like, why do I need to agree completely, wholeheartedly with every single thing that you're saying? I may agree with some things. Please accept that we're going to go back and forth in stating our opinions, and that's okay. That's okay. I feel like people who do want to be right all the time, or people who want their egos to be fed, or people who think that they are right all the time, that's very self-deprecating, and that's very much like you need help. You think the world revolves around you, and that's just not what it is. Versus when you don't really care about being politically correct, you own your experiences. Your life will be so much more pleasant when you allow yourself space to not only convey your opinions, really hold down yourself, hold down your experiences, and really own them. Because at the end of the day, your voice is needed in this world, your opinions are needed in this world, discourse is needed in this world. Make your content, get on camera, talk about your thoughts, talk about your experiences, and don't care what other people think. Don't care so much about being politically correct. When I stopped doing it, I saw so much more progress in my content creation. I saw so much progress in my relationships. I saw so much progress in my boundaries and standing on business. Because as the saying goes, you stand for everything, you actually stand for nothing.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
So I wanted to share with you an experience that I went through yesterday. So weird, but I gotta share this with you. I was told before I opened up my store yesterday in the morning, I usually open it up at 9 in the morning, that there was this homeless guy who was irate lying right in front of the store, and just was basically cursing and going crazy and out of his mind. And then I was told by the next store next to me, the shoe store guy, that basically he came to him and told him to leave, and he wouldn't leave, and he just threw all his food around there, and it was just, he urinated in the place over there. It was just a disaster. But finally he got him to leave. So when I came and opened up my store, I saw all this food over there, and it smelled like piss. And then the guy from the next door guy came over and told me, yeah, this is what happened. There was a homeless guy there, and he was pretty much, just hanging out, lying down right in front of your door, and it was just gross. So I thanked him. I thanked him. I went to his store, and I thanked him and told him, thank you so much for getting this homeless guy out. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this woman in her late 60s comes up to me and she goes, excuse me, I just overheard what you said, and I'm very offended by the fact that you called him homeless. I said, what? Who are you? And she said, I'm an attorney. Big deal, like I care. I'm an attorney, and you should not be calling them homeless. They are geographically misplaced, or better term, unhomed. So let me tell you this: we can't even say the word homeless anymore. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, someone overhearing my conversation and trying to correct me for saying homeless. Now we got to be very politically correct. So what do we call a shoplifter now? A free merchandise seeker? Or what do you call a criminal? A hazardous societal individual? Is this how we're going to have to now name, people, or is this how we're going to have to be politically correct from now on? So weird what's going on with society now. I know I'm gonna get a tons of comments. I know I'm gonna get a lot of stuff going on over here. But the whole point to this is, if we cannot even say the word homeless, if that's offensive to someone who basically pissed all over the front of my store, threw all his food there, is blocking my door, I can't even get into the door, all that, and we have to call them unhomed or geographically misplaced. I don't know what the society's coming down to. I have no idea where we're heading here, but it's not looking good.
A very good indicator that a comedian is not as funny as they think they are is if they start off with, "You can't say nothing anymore." I think that is probably the easiest way for a comedian for me to just stop listening to what you have to say. Because what you're actually saying is you can't just be wild and offensive anymore. It is very, no, that's not what I'm saying. It is very possible, it is quite possible to be funny without being mean-spirited. I'm not even going to say offensive or being PC or whatever, because I'm really tired of the hearing PC or whatever, but like, what you want to do is you want to say the most outlandish thing and people just be like okay with it because you're a comedian. No, you can be funny and still be respectful. You can be funny and be non-controversial. So just give it a shot. Like, just try to be better. Probably the easiest way to say that.
It just hit me that last week my coworker and I had a conversation that I've been trying to articulate for years in my mind, basically. So when it comes to like my country, when I started speaking on it about what's going on, people called me a lot of things, but no one called me a liar. Because they were like, yeah, that's the reality, but the problem is that you're speaking on the reality. The words are what bothered people more than the actual thing that's happening. And so recently we're having a conversation about the term unhomed, because a lot of people are like, the term homeless is actually derogatory, we should say unhomed. And I'm fine with that. Either way, whatever makes people feel more dignified, I'm fine with. But I did love my coworker's point about saying, by saying something about how like it's harsh in language, you're trying to rob it of its actual reality. So the fact is, it is an ugly situation. And so why are we trying to make it sound better? And why are we policing how people say things about it instead of actually tackling the issue itself? Because I think we don't want to feel guilty. So we don't like to use trigger words that make us feel bad about people or about things that we actually could control if we change it as a society. But we'd rather say things that are easier on the ears because we can't handle how bad it sounds. It just reminded me of an episode of The Office where Dwight was like, the word murder is aggressive because it needs to be. Like, he was like, they don't call it muck duck or something. And he was making a joke, but he's right. Like, it sounds bad because it is. And some things just need to be real. They need to be in line with what it is. I know it could sound bad, but some things are bad in nature. And so we need to be realistic about that, in my opinion. But I feel like with political correctness and all of that, we're trying to police what we say. We're not ever getting to the actual root of the issue. And so I don't like this. I don't like cancel culture. I don't like that we can't say certain words and that comedy is even getting so restricted and censored. I personally don't like that because it's taking away from the reality. Some things are ugly and we got to talk about it.
All right, guys, we have to talk about this. Political correctness is for people who lack self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. You should not have to change words just to make other people feel comfortable. We shouldn't have to do that. As long as you're not being like rude or mean, use the words that you gotta use.
One of my favorite things about Gen Z, and I'm going to include millennials in on this one as well, you guys can have a bone, I'll throw you a little bone, you know what I mean, is that publicly we are so politically correct. We'll give you every single trigger warning you ever want, you know what I mean, we'll sit there for 5 minutes giving trigger warnings. The moment we step into a private setting with our closest people, vicious individuals, evil, we'll pick on anything. And I don't want to get myself cancelled, but my friend once said, you never pick on anything that can't be changed. And I responded to her privately. You should only pick on things that can't be changed. I don't know. And I feel like this is a universal experience. I think we're all evil, if I'm being honest. Privately, though. So it's okay.
Oh, being politically correct. Why it is wrong in your personal life. Now, if you think about PC culture or being politically correct, the idea is to not offend anyone. However, if you are politically correct to the point where you offend no one, then it means you are not truly being your most authentic self. Because the reality is there are just some people who are going to be straight up offended by who you are. So, the real correct way to interact with the world is to be who you truly are and your most authentic self, while also having some empathy for others, but never to the point to where it sacrifices who you are.
White queers started becoming the morality police and started using political correctness as a way to assert power over Black and brown people in the queer community, so they don't feel like they lost control.
Why are we forced on TikTok to say graped and SA'd and we can't say Hamas or killed? If somebody was killed, then they were killed. If somebody killed somebody, then they killed somebody. If they raped or sexually assaulted somebody, then they raped or sexually assaulted somebody. Why do we dance around the truth? It's stupid. It minimizes a crime that somebody committed, and it minimizes a crime that somebody was victim of. And that's just stupid. Are we doing this just because TikTok wants us to? I mean, are they afraid somebody's going to be offended? And who would be offended by that? I just think it's so ridiculous that we're made to do that. Why can't we just be honest when something like that has happened to somebody? And so please, in the comments, let me know, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to keep doing it? If this video even stays up. I put so many bad words in it.
One of the best parts about being from the holler is that I still have relatives who really have no idea like what's on the up and up with political correctness, but not even in like a really viscerally offensive way, but like in a they're trying way. Because I have a relative who up until like last month thought the politically correct term for a little person was homunculi. Don't worry, they know now. I corrected them and they were like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't actually say that to somebody. But oh my God, can you imagine? And another one was using the phrase mighty white of you because they thought it was mighty wide of you, like wide. And when asked why they thought that, they were like, I don't know, I thought it was just one of those sayings that doesn't make sense.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
So apparently it's not politically correct to call out racism. But you know what? Sometimes doing the right thing is not the politically correct thing. Sometimes doing the moral thing and fighting for justice is not the legally correct thing. Because morality does not equate legality. Slavery was legal. So was segregation. Yeah. So this whole idea of needing to maintain political correctness or diplomacy in the face of overt, belligerent, and emboldened racism and bigotry, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You call it out each and every time. You call it out each and every time. You don't accept the unacceptable or justify the unjustifiable just because it's politically correct to do so. Absolutely not. No. No. And we're not going to accept that any longer.
Okay, so this reminded me of a quote that I used in my thesis. Let me read it to you and I'll tell you why it's important. I used to think I was poor. Then they told me I wasn't poor, I was needy. They told me it was self-defeating to think of myself as needy. I was deprived. They then told me deprived was a bad image. I was underprivileged. They told me underprivileged was overused. I was disadvantaged. I still haven't got a dime, but I sure have a good vocabulary. I see this a lot in like liberal spaces where people are so focused on language, and it is true that language has the power to like reinforce the status quo, reinforce power relations, but too much emphasis on discourse is problematic because at the end of the day, like changing the vocabulary of the nation isn't going to ease social inequities. And social and political influences are constantly changing, so things that are acceptable now may not be acceptable later. And this is why critical consciousness is so important, because raised awareness doesn't necessarily equal improved material resources for the people who need them.
Okay, I want to preface this video by saying it is not intended to offend anyone. That said, here we go. Political correctness is a manifestation of lack of identity and low self-esteem. If someone believes they're beautiful and you call them ugly, it will not affect them because they don't believe it to be true. If you call someone an asshole and they don't believe that they themselves are an asshole, it will not affect them because they do not believe it. It goes right through them. So rather than attacking the messenger or the people who are offending you, you need to look inside yourself and figure out why you think you're an asshole, why you think you're an ugly, why you think you're a he or a she or whatever the case may be. You got to look inside, identify the things you don't like about yourself, and then work towards improving those things. And as you improve those things, you start to build self-esteem, you start to build confidence. And then when people call you those other things, those negative things, they no longer affect you because you don't believe them to be true. The other part of that is the identity part, where most people don't know who they are. They've let other people define them their entire lives, and they wonder why they're all over the place and emotional and crazy. That's the great news is you get to identify yourself. You get to pick who you want to be. I did it years ago. I look back at myself and I was like, who the fuck am I? I don't know who I am. Why don't I know who I am? I should probably know that. I look back and I was like, oh, as a kid, it was what resonated with me the most. I was like, as a kid, I wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to help people. I want to make people happy. And I was like, that's actually who I am. Underlying everything else, that's who I am. So that's how I define myself, as someone who wants to positively impact as many people as deeply as possible. It's that simple. And something like that will change your whole mindset, and it'll change your interactions with everyone. So look inside yourself, start carving away all the bullshit that people have been telling you your whole life, define yourself, and then work on the things that you don't like about yourself. And sure enough, sooner than later, it doesn't matter what people say, you won't be affected by their words. I guarantee it. You're welcome.
No, this is bullshit. The politically correct era tried to humanize people that had long been dehumanized. The type of people that fucking ramble and rant against political correctness are the same type of people that today won't shut up about how everything's fucking woke. Like, respecting other human beings is woke. It's the same type of people that throw a fucking temper tantrum about DEI and critical race theory that have no fucking clue how to even start to define those two things. Please drive right around me with this fucking political correctness. Like, instead of calling them, blacks or Negroes, can we call them, African Americans? Did it miss the mark? Sure, we can argue that it missed the mark, but at the very least, it was trying to humanize people that for a really long time in this country had not been fucking humanized. Good God, I have to share the fucking planet with you people. Do you know how hard it is to live in a fucking world where half the population is too fucking stupid to realize they're burning the whole world down with them in it? They're not just harming the people they don't like. Fucking Christ in heaven. Political correctness and woke and cancel culture. There's no fucking such thing as cancel culture. Look, is it stupid when some fucking asshole goes 35 years back on someone's Twitter post to find a joke that didn't land and was like, this is how you still believe today, and I don't think anybody... Yeah, that's fucking stupid. But someone that goes, you know what? In 1993, I called people the F slur a bunch and once, said the N-word in a rap song and I really learned. But the fact that you did... Yes, that's fucking stupid. But people have to learn and grow. No one good's getting fucking canceled. I like how Cat Williams said it. He's like, I think we have consequence culture. You can say whatever you want, but there's going to be consequences for what you say. You want to go online and do an objective racism? Fucking cool, that's on you. There's going to be consequences for that. Your job might not like the fact that you're saying unhinged shit on the fucking internet. Political fucking correctness. This is the most bullshit, disconnected from fucking I was like, hey, do I have any interesting comments to do commentary on this one? Fucking political correctness is, no, fuck off with this shit.
Man, I hate overly sensitive people. Not everything that is said to you is going to be a good thing. Not everything that is said to you will be in a very soft and nice way. And you have to realize that. At times, you do need that harsh truth. And it is not everything that is harsh that comes from a place of wrong or being evil. Not everything that is harsh is a bad thing. Sometimes you do need that more harsh words and things like that. Especially in this generation, you need to toughen up. The world is not easy. The world is not soft. We need to be stronger as human beings.
So, watching a video where someone was talking about how Candace Owens was paid to create one of the biggest smear campaigns in history or whatever against Kamala Harris. And in the comments, I was pretty disappointed by how many people were attacking this creator because she said Kamala instead of Kamala. And it wasn't just like a friendly, hey, remember this is how you say her name or whatever. Like one person said it and another person said it. And then before you know it, they're all just feeding off of each other like, oh my God, they do it on purpose. Oh my God, it's a microaggression. My name is Siobhan. It looks like Siobahan to most Americans. And my Hispanic friends call me Sealvan. I went my whole life being called Bonnie because I just wanted to be more palatable. I wanted to blend in. I hated how embarrassing it was when people mispronounced my name. So I made myself smaller so that other people could feel confident in the way they say my name. I'm now reclaiming my name. I go by Siobhan now. But at the same time, like when people still call me Bonnie or when people mispronounce my name or whatever, to me, I don't get mad about it because I understand intention. There's a difference between people not even trying to say my name and then people just forgetting like, oh snap, you change your name, you know, you go by your legal name now. Or, oh snap, whatever. This whole like trying to hold people to a standard of perfection 24/7 is insane. We have to give people space and grace to grow. We have to give, but at the same time, you also need to check your own intention. Like, were you really trying to help them or were you trying to put them down? And this, all that to say, sorry, I got sidetracked. The left, we focus way too much on being politically correct and not enough on focusing, is this actually correct? Okay, like I understand that we want to call my ancestors the enslaved versus the slaved, and I love that. It doesn't change anyone's heart. That's what I'm saying. Correcting people's language is behavior modification. And I saw this in church a lot. We don't want people to just modify their behavior so we can be happy again. We want them to change internally, and there is nothing that any of us can do to make that happen. That has to happen on its own.
Somebody speaks eloquently or knows how to articulate themselves doesn't mean the things they're saying make sense. I'm telling you, that does not mean the thing they're saying makes sense.
I've been seeing a lot of discourse around how people are very sensitive these days, and I've come to the conclusion that it's not sensitivity. I think people are just know-it-alls these days because there's an influx of information, new knowledge, and literally brand new and just knowledge that's coming into the limelight in today's society. So I feel like people are just gaining more awareness of different type of things, and then depending on your awareness level, you can feel like the one who's above you in awareness in terms of like general knowledge and knowledge about whatever you're talking about in the moment. You can feel like that person's just so annoying and sensitive because it's like, well, they might have a rebuttal for everything that you say. Do I think that this is a bad thing? I think that the gaining of knowledge is good. I feel like some people can be a bit annoying about it though, and so I don't feel like people are more sensitive. I think that people just have more knowledge in general.
I just wanted to say y'all are acting entirely too sensitive. You believe everything you hear on the internet and you take it to heart. Every single little post. You're literally 30 years old getting offended by what a 12-year-old has to say. And then to take it a step further, I respect kids. I love kids, right? But the internet is not meant for kids unless it's a child website. We shouldn't have to filter everything we say because your kid is sneaking on their iPad to do the no good stuff. Get your freaking kid off the iPad and get them in the books or take them outside. And equally, quit getting offended if a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old hops on the internet and starts talking out their butt. Why are you getting offended? You're literally 50 years old. You've got heart problems. What are you doing stressing yourself out even more over someone you will never meet in your life?
Now I understand why a lot of celebrities and influencers say that y'all are too sensitive nowadays. And at first I thought they were saying that because they couldn't get away with being bigots and saying derogatory stuff and just being assholes, right? And some of them, that is the reason why they're saying it. But I think a lot of them are trying to hit on something that isn't necessarily sensitivity. I don't think that's the word to describe it, but I think for lack of better terms, that's the word they've been using. However, I don't think I even know the word to describe it, but I do know something is off. There's a particular archetype, but it's a big group of people, and they wait in the shadows for a popular person or a celebrity to say something that they could intentionally misinterpret and have other people jump on the bandwagon to pin this person against the wall for no good reason other than projection. It's a form of projection to me. It's like something about their life or something within them is not happy, which makes sense. I mean, society. I mean, look at the world. And it's so sick to me that so many people will obviously misinterpret. Like everybody with 2 ears and 2 eyes can tell it's a misinterpretation, but everybody will hop on the bandwagon to pin this person against the shit is crazy.
You know, it used to piss me off when boomers would be like, the kids are too sensitive these days. They get offended by everything. But honestly, I'm starting to understand because the absolute dedication people have on this app to misunderstand what you're saying, no matter like how clear you make yourself, the absolute leaps people will take, it's It's insane. I just had put up a video last night about how like certain people who do goofy costumes will like try to make the girls in slutty costumes feel bad. This obviously isn't everyone who's ever worn a funny costume. I've worn funny costumes, I've worn slutty costumes. I'm talking about a specific type of person, okay? If the shoe doesn't fit, stop desperately trying to shove it on your foot. The leaps people are taking on that video is unbelievable. Instead of it just being about what the fuck I was talking about, people are like, this is women hating on women. You don't support women. The internalized misogyny is so real here. Like thinking they totally ate. I just don't understand this desperation to be offended. Like there's people under that video that are like, well, my dad will kick my ass and put me over the fryer if I wore a slutty costume, so. And then other people are like, well, I have body dysmorphia and I'm just really self-conscious, so that's why I don't wear a costume, da 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 da. I'm not talking to you! I'm not talking to you. I understand that not everyone whose For You page I come up on is going to follow me and know this, but I bitch about men all the time. I'm an equal opportunity hater. Like I don't understand.
I have a theory that sensitive people get called too sensitive and dramatic and needy and all these things because people can tell that we are seeing beyond the veil, that we're more in touch with our spirit and our higher self and God and the universe, whatever it is you believe in. We're more in touch with that and we have more of that light, and they don't know how to access it, so they get scared. And then they reflect that back on us and they say, you're too sensitive, you're too much, you feel too deeply, because they don't know how to go there, and if they did, they'd have no idea what to do with it. Sensitivity is not a curse. It's not something bad. Society is afraid of it, but it is one of the greatest gifts that you could ever have, and it is here to absolutely change lives.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.